You showed that to me, yeah.
Right. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Let me open up here. I think it is a library from V1. It's the oldest one. This is what I need. So the main idea. So the only part that is a little bit tricky, and it's not that much, is dealing with text, like getting the text out or setting the text in the editor and those kind of things. But you will see a few objects here, but they don't worry that much about them. They don't really, that's nothing there. This is basically the one function that does everything. You don't have to do anything. The only thing that you have to do is call this function with the handle of the Scintilla control and the message that you want to send. My wrapper, what it does is that it converts a function name. So this call here, this is the one that grabs a function name that you give it, like say, for example, ci.getText. What this call function does, this here, is that it grabs this getText name and converts it into the actual message that you have to send. So for example, here it is. If you call the getText function, it grabs that, and those that deal with text, those are the ones that I had to create capacity and whatever. But the point is, in the end, the only thing that the function is doing is calling the send editor function with the message already translated, because each of those messages, I convert them into their number because it is a send message. It basically is a send message. You can control Scintilla with the send message and the post message commands. Basically, that's you can use post message or
regardless, one or the other, or sometime one.
You can no, you can use either or. The only difference between them is that send message goes ahead and sends the message and waits for a reply, but post message sends the message and doesn't wait for a reply. That's the only difference between the two, but they do exactly the same. Now, that's the reason why send message has a timeout in it, because it has a timeout of how long it's going to wait for the reply. So you could control Scintilla with these two guys. I already did that. You don't have to worry about that. The only thing is knowing the numbers. And what I did, so each function has a number. That's the message number for that function. So if you want to add text, you just use the send command with that number, and that's it, and some other things. That's what the wrapper is doing for you. The only thing that it's doing is that whenever you add a function, it converts that function to this number and then just uses the send editor command to send it to a very specific. This is the part that is tricky, but you don't have to worry about it because I already did it. I get a basic pointer to a function, save it into a static variable. It's a static variable. And after I have it, every time I do a send message, I just send it to that thing. That's it.
Okay.
This function, if you don't touch it, this is the work. This is the actual work. Everything else is just about sending the right message number, which I already do. I already have that. So depending on what you want to add or remove, the only thing that you have to understand is that these messages, if you go to the Scintilla site, or Scintilla,
there was also a question of version, I think, DLL version.
Right. So yeah, I will talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you go to the documentation here, the documentation is not as easy as AutoHotkey. Yeah. No documentation is going to be as easy as AutoHotkey, but they tried. They divided about things that you want to do. So for example, I want to show the markers. The markers are the little symbols that you show on the left side here when you add a breakpoint or the opening and closing markets. You can have like 4 bands in there that you can add different markers. Yeah, there you go. That's the method that you have to call the
And
marker
these methods
define.
have a number already in
Exactly.
the list that
There
you
it
have
is.
there.
There it is. Site marker defined 2040. That's it. That's the
Mhm.
message that you have to send.
Yeah.
Now, again, the whole work basically right now with the Raptor is knowing what to do. With Scintilla, you can do so many things and just, yeah, you can have scrolling, automatic scrolling, styling, which is coloring and stuff, hotspots, annotations,
Yeah.
and there's the
Let's say that at
auto-completion
first, what
on
I
there.
would do is to just replicate what the basic edit control is doing. And from there, I can upgrade after that with more sophisticated. So I would not start with the
Exactly.
bells and whistles. I would start just with
Exactly.
editing
Just start with the
text.
basic. Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
editing
And
text.
and basically on your end, if you guide yourself with the examples here, so I have a folder here that have enough examples. The basic one, just adding a scintilla control. If you run this, you will get a GUI with a scintilla control. I don't know if, let me see, hold on. I got because I added some text that I shouldn't add.
Mhm.
This guy right here. So basically, if you run it, you should get a basic editor. There you go. That's it. You just created a scintilla control.
Mhm.
After it's created, and that's just done with that one thing, you can add options to it. And in the examples, I go step by step, adding just one, adding multiples, adding it in a tab, setting the styles. So this is something like if I want to have borders and stuff like that. And I give you links to where to look for those kind of things, getting the text, getting a range, basic highlighting. Now here with the basic highlighting, this is where I start setting stuff up. So I set the wrap mode, I set the lexor, I set keywords. That's it. So just this guy set keywords. As soon as you get that, the words, those words, let me see, another, it just gets highlighted. You don't have to do anything. The only thing that you have to do is have a list, space separated. You can read it from a file, for example. You just read it to a file, put it there. And with that lexor, I do that. The problem with the lexor is reading in C++ for AutoHotkey v1. You can write a lexor in AutoHotkey, but I haven't done that. Okay. That's a topic that I don't have many, like a lot of information about. But basically, the lexor that I have is AutoHotkey L version 1. Whenever you have that, there's a few things that you cannot do. Like, for example, the single quotes cannot be commented or whatever. But again, if you go with these examples, I think you will get a very good idea of what you can do. And I go slowly from just adding one guy to adding it into a tab, setting styles, getting text, and then later on highlighting. And that's it. And there's even the notification thing. So with this is what you would use to create your own lexor. You capture the notify function. And in that function, whenever you get certain notifications, the Scintilla control notifies you when it's gonna do some highlighting. So when you get the notification, you can say, oh, if the message is lexing, so there is so I think I have it in here. Let me see one. This is for the functions, markers, sets, flags, finding keys,
Lexing.
notifications here. So in here, when you get there's one modified, for example, when something was modified, you can go ahead and update everything to, oh, here, style needed. That's the one that I need. So this style needed gets called when the Scintilla control thinks, hey, you should get some coloring here. When you get this message, you can go ahead and in AutoHotkey, right here in AutoHotkey, you can go ahead and define
and
your
provide
action.
a color. or
You provide
yeah.
the actions that you want. So you can create an editor in AutoHotkey. I haven't done it, but it is possible. If you take a look at the examples, you will get a pretty good idea of what you can do. The only problem here is that it is based on that lexor right here, which is an older thing. Now,
is it only the lexor that is related to a version issue, or
yes,
the control itself?
No, it's just the lexor.
Okay.
Well, the DLL that I'm using. So what happens is Scintilla 5. So if you download Scintilla 5 or older, they divided Scintilla into 2 DLLs. The one that I have has the lexor and the control in one DLL.
In the same DLL.
Now, what they did is that they divided it into the lexor, the control itself, that you can create, you can capture the notification, see what you selected, and many other things. But the lexing part, which has to do with the language that you're creating, that is now a separate DLL that now you have to send messages to it again. They both work the same way. It's just sending messages.
But your script is based on version that has both together, so
right,
the script will need to be modified to support the two different DLLs.
Exactly. Now,
because if I'm working on that, I prefer to start working on the most recent version, of course.
Perfect. Now, here's the thing. In my case, the only thing that needs to be modified is the fact that the send editor here, you would have to create an additional function that looks like this, but for send edit, exactly. So send lexor, you would have to do send lexor, because as far as I can tell, both work with
it would have a different handler and different ID, and
right. And the only thing is that now with the send editor, I cannot send certain things like setting up the lexor or something like that. I cannot send that message with this function. I would have to send it with this one. That's it. So,
and you would have a second call. What is it? The underscore call that intercept the functions.
Well, that's the reason why I haven't sit down to do this, because thinking about the solution is the one that is a little bit complicated. So right now, instead of having a class Scintilla, now we would have another class here saying class Lexilla. So Lexilla. And it would be very similar. Again, I would copy paste much of my code. Now the call here is the one that is going to call this guy instead. You see what I mean? That's basically it. So the call function translates the name of the function into a number that is the number that is going to be sent here.
Is it only inside class that you have the call function?
Yes. Yeah, but
it's inside the class.
Yes.
So you would have two different classes and two different call functions.
That's exactly, that is right. But here's the thing. After a while, as I'm learning more and more in AutoHotkey, I noticed why the approach that I took is a problem. It is very simple because I created this in no time. But the problem is when you're coding, I cannot say psi and do the dot and have all the functions listed. You see that the autocomplete gives you the functions that you have available in a class. I don't get that because I didn't create each function by itself.
And when you debug, and when you debug with this and you do step by step, you always go through all the call steps before getting to the real thing, and you lose a lot of time doing step by step.
So basically, my idea was at that time, oh, let me make a class that is very simple. I created it in no time. It was working fine. I have been using it for years, no problem. But on the day-to-day, when I'm coding, I always have to come back to the documentation to see what is the function that I could use. Which the way how it works is that you would have to create one function for
a method for
each function. But now here's the thing: there are way too many.
But if I need, but I would start with the 10 or 20
but the one that you need. Exactly. That's how it goes. And then you go slowly. And most of them, you don't have to deal with many things. So getting the length is a very simple function that you post the message and it just gives you a number. That's it. The ones that you do have to worry about is adding text, inserting text, or getting text, because it is C++. So you have to send a buffer to it. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky, that if you don't know what you're doing with the text, it gets tricky. The only thing that you have to do—
What is a buffer? Is it a
just
variable address, or?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's very simple to understand. It's a place in memory that has a memory address and a size. That's why whenever I'm doing the call here for, no, not for add, for text, you see get text here. The first thing that I do is set a variable, right?
That's the buffer.
With a specific size, right? And that, when I get it, I just have a the address of that buffer, that then later on, when I call my DLL or my send editor, I'm passing just an address. I'm not passing the text. You cannot simply just pass the text as the user put it. You have to pass a pointer to where the text is stored, which is what string put does, right? So string put puts the text into a location and returns at least the size or the pointer to where that is located at.
Yeah.
It just
you say it's simple, but it looks to me like a big mountain.
No, the problem is, yeah, I'm going to tell you, the problem here is that once you have it as, you know, an if statement, it makes a little bit more sense. And this is an else right here.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do anything in there. So it is just 2 lines. So it is just, if I have to get text, I set up a specific variable to a specific size. And this was just, this is the part that usually, if you have a little bit of knowledge in C++, it gets very simple. And these, we don't have to do this A is Unicode times 2s or 1. We just say, hey, the library is UTF-8, and that's it. It's Unicode all the time. If it is always Unicode, you don't have to do this math. It's just the same thing. W-param has a pointer, and I multiply that pointer for the size, and 8 bytes. That's it.
Yeah, for the
and
kind
then
of header, or
and once I do that, I set the size for that, I just pass that pointer to this.
With the address.
That's it. Right, exactly. And then that's it. It looks complicated because I have them in 1 lines, and that's what people don't understand. When you code like this, everything looks so complicated. But after you put it how it actually is, it's so simple to understand. Just set the size, say the size, grab the pointer to that variable, and I just set an additional variable to say, hey, it is a buffer. And I say, if it is a buffer, then do this. I get the text and so on. It looks complicated, but it's just because it's condensed out. After you get the hang of it, after you get the idea, I think the most difficult part of Scintilla is just, and it is not Scintilla, is AutoHotkey, is dealing with those buffers that you need the pointer and so on. AutoHotkey v2 gives you something like this, that you say buffer, and you create an object that is called buffer. Yeah. And that already has the pointer, and it has the size already, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. When you do the DLL call, you just have to pass DLL call, and then you pass your buffer. So you say,
the problem is that I cannot go to v2 until the edit control library is converted, and Jibali, who did that, has no plan to do it. And it would be much simpler to do the Scintilla control in v2.
Oh, exactly.
But you know,
no.
So I cannot do the transition inside the same. Yeah, you know, that's
no. I understand exactly what you mean. The main idea is, hey, everything is just a number. That's it. Everything you're calling is just a number, and you're doing that with the send command, send message. Sorry, send message with that number. That's it. So if you have the time, play with the simple ones, with the get. You try with the get ones, like get size, or sorry, let me see, hold on. I think there's like get, right. Get current line, get style. Play with those first, that are not text, that they give you a number. And after you get the idea of them, you just have to understand when you're dealing with text, then you have to use var set capacity and string get or string put to put this the string in that location. That's it.
Okay. Good.
But regarding the different versions with the DLL and Scintilla, what do you know? Like what the what's the old one? What's yours based off of? What version?
4 point something, 4 point.
Oh, okay. I thought it was older.
Yeah. No. It's just that when they moved to 5, it already broke everything because they have two files. That's it.
So do you happen to know, are there benefits of 5? Like, no? So it's just
the
newer,
same
it's
thing.
not- okay.
No, so it's the same thing. The one thing that changed is that they split it just because they wanted to have more flexibility on how to add or remove lexors. That's all there is to it. But the control itself, the Scintilla control, works exactly the same. The same.
Adapting what you did to version 5, is it a few hours of work, or is it bigger than that, or
less than?
Well,
I think
less than? Yeah.
I could. So this here, this part that says Scintilla, I would guarantee that it works almost exactly the same with minor changes with V5. The only problem is the coloring based on syntax. That's the one, which is basically the main part. That's the one that I would have to just create a new thing. That's
to guess.
That's okay.
If you were to guess, Isaias, not putting you on the spot, but how many hours for you would that be?
Let me double check something. Right. This is the documentation from Lexilla.
And the other question I have is, maybe we should spend 5 minutes in Google to see if anyone has started this process.
ChatGPT. Let me show you how big the Lexilla protocol is.
Yeah.
Those are the functions. That's it. You don't have to do anything. So if I get these functions ready in AutoHotkey v1, we're done. That's it. So as I'm saying, Lexilla is not a big switch. It's just that now it's a different thing. What does change mainly is how to create lexors in C++, which that is a whole topic that would be a different thing. But I already have a lexor, so that's why I haven't moved to 5, because I don't see the benefit of rewriting a whole lexor just because they wanted to have it separately.
Is there an AutoHotkey lexor in 4?
I'm sorry? Yeah.
Is there an AutoHotkey lexor in 4 and also in 5, or?
No, in 4. The one that I created and the one that makes this, both of them are in 4.
Okay.
So the only thing is, as I mentioned before, you don't need to create a lexor in C++. You can create them on AutoHotkey by capturing
using
the notification.
style
notification
needed with the style needed.
This notification, when you get a notification, you just style yourself with AutoHotkey, with the same library that you have there. So it is doable. It's just that I don't know if somebody has done that already, or I haven't done that myself. That's it. Nothing else.
So
regarding that, to answer the question, it would be like, I would say for creating the Lexilla, that shouldn't take me more than 3 hours or something like that. The problem is the CPP lexor that then we would have to create. Why did she turn on?
Okay, Isaiah, what day and time?
Cancel.
At least it said your name right,
Cancel.
Yeah.
or close to right.
Right. So the main issue here, even if I create the Lexilla object or whatever, is the lexor. So now the lexor. I'm saying lexor, and she says she thinks I'm talking to her. Cancel that.
Right.
So that is the part that would be complicated to either build in C++, which what I did last time is that I grabbed an existing one. I grabbed C++ and just modified few details of it to match AutoHotkey. That's what I did. So doing that again, just grabbing a C++ lexor and modifying it a little bit, it shouldn't take that long. But the research and the fact that it's a different language, if something goes wrong, then I have to figure out why it's wrong when I don't
Again,
understand the language, right?
Best guess is shouldn't take that long is what?
I don't know, about a week
Yes.
or two. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
About a week or
That's
two.
where
Yeah.
we're, yeah.
Right.
Well, and
Just
let me
to-
ask you this real quickly, because I know we talked about it with Studio. We need to go back and redo the Lexor, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the problem I have with Studio. So
But
I have
you
to
weren't
go
planning
and-
to convert that to 5 though, right? You'd still keep it in 4 and
No, keep it on
Refresh it.
4. No, well, I was just gonna keep it on 4 at that point.
well,
There is no specific reason why you would want to move to 5.
Yep.
Other
Other
than I want the newest version. That's it,
Okay.
which they haven't
not a
said
hot
that
take,
they,
yeah.
no, they haven't said, oh, we fixed some bugs. We
Right.
didn't, they didn't say anything
interesting.
about that.
Yeah.
It's just the
I get
library. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so if I work on that, I would stay in version 4.
Yeah, it sounds
I
like
would definitely,
Yeah.
I would definitely do that for the time being. When I have like free time that I have nothing to do and I'm bored, then I would go ahead and sit down and say, okay, how does this work? Let me see how I can translate this to V2 or whatever. But it is a little bit of a read of creating those guys. And then this is the point, the compiling of those guys. That's what drives me insane.
that was why I was asking Zayas, because I know when I talk to you, we're going to need to recompile for the HK
Exactly.
Studio, right?
Exactly.
And so, Jean, we're going to be doing that anyway at some point. It's
Right.
not
For version
it wasn't-
2.
well
to fix a few things on the Lexor that he has. Yes.
it's the double quote and single quote issue, right? Or at least that's one of them. Is we can't highlight the single quotes the same as double quotes because it's built in to only use double quotes as the quote, text encapsulator.
Right.
Mhm.
So this is what happens if I have double quotes, and then this is what happens
So the
if I
highlighted
have single quotes. So what happens here is that the Lexor, the actual DLL file, when it finds this quote, it says, oh, I am in text. And then tells the Scintilla control, start highlighting text. When I close it, it says, stop highlighting text. That's the Lexor that is doing that. As it doesn't do that with the quotation marks, it just doesn't do that. So it just,
Yeah. Okay. So
Right.
if you remove the quotation, it would stay the same color.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
So
okay.
if I remove this guy, it just stays
Yeah,
exactly.
okay,
the same.
that's the regular
Because
color,
it's saying those are variables. That's what it's doing. So
okay.
now
Mhm.
what happens is to fix that, you have to go to the C++ file, fix it, recompile it, and then have the
And
DLL
you need a
file.
license to compile, or is it
No,
something
no,
that
no. That you don't need a license to compile or anything. It's just the fact of compiling, because I have to have the Windows 32 compiler, and I
Yeah.
think I do have it. So if I open up like this Mingu thing, this usually comes with the compiler. The problem is that you have to set up the compiler to be compatible with this thing. And depending on the version, there's a specific compiler that you have to use and a specific settings.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's what is kind of like a research time that we don't have at the moment. But yes, that the
Yeah.
biggest issue is that if you create your Lexor in C++, the compiler issue is going to be, because we don't work on that. If I was a
Okay.
C++ thing, I would know what to do, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay. Joe, thank you for recording that, because maybe I'll need that in a few weeks or months, because I will first release version 1 using the basic edit control, and then start me working on adding something new for QCE version 2 at some point.
Let me hold on. Joe, what was the tool that we created that we added the Lexing? It was an email tool,
That's the newsletter, the client lookup tool, right?
client lookup.
The
Right. So, yeah.
HK
Yeah. So
Euro.
let me do something. I think.
Because I've used it,
Ah,
or
the
I have it
automator.
in a couple tools like the
Yeah. let me show you something, John. And this was literally copy paste. What I did
We have a
is,
video on this, by the,
right, yeah, we do have a video on this. The only thing that I have to do is set up Scintilla, so like include it, create my Scintilla control, which I have somewhere.
Mhm.
I'll show you in a second. Ah, here it is. Create my Scintilla control and configure it. And this, I literally copy pasted. That's what I did. I copy paste, and I can give you this. You can copy paste. What's the interesting part? These two guys, the keywords. That I read from a file, or I don't know if it is a variable or something. I have it somewhere.
Mhm.
And that is it. If you, and this was just to set up SQL. So we have SQL highlighting in it. If what you're trying to do is just set up some basic highlighting, I can give you you can have the Scintilla lexor added, and that is what highlighting means. You just set the type that you want to highlight, whether it's comment, number, word, depending on the number here that has styles, and put
But
them.
I see two reasons to use the Scintilla control. One is the lexing, and then the tool I develop is not only for AutoHotkey. So
That's the
I would
point.
like
That's what
to
I'm saying.
offer the different lexors that are available for C, HTML, or other languages. That's one thing. But the other thing, and it's my question, is using Scintilla editor a faster editor? Can it handle larger files than the edit control? Do I have something that is more efficient to work with?
I'm going to tell you, I don't think you can use the edit control for your first version, unless you know how to fix the issue that the edit control has. It has a limit. It has 35,000 characters or something like that is what you can put in an edit control by default. We reached that in something when I was doing the base 64 encoding for my icons. The control had the value, but it was not showing it.
In
It was blank.
AutoHotkey.
Right,
Yeah.
in AutoHotkey. It was actually not showing it. But this is a limit on the operating system. You can move that limit. You can switch it by sending some messages to the control. With Scintilla, you don't have that. You do not have those kind of limits. So what is going to happen is that at some point, you're going to try to display something on the control that has...
I did that. I copied the source of quick access pop-up, which is quite a meg of text, and it was displayed. So maybe it was improved over the last version of Windows, but I was able to.
Let me see, because it was not about the size of the file. It's about the size of how many characters it can display.
In the control, but if I take, let me take the source of quick access pop-up.
And that was an edit field, like a normal edit field.
An AutoHotkey edit field.
Right.
Yeah, let me share my screen if you wish.
That's interesting because I had issues with less than that, way less than that. Well, it was a megabyte or something, yeah.
So this is
right. I see it.
The edit control. You see the size here, 1.8 megs, and you can display it until the end. So
let me try something because, yeah, let me show something because let me take a look at this real quick, which was on the automator.
But maybe it's very slow. I don't know if I do find and replace and that.
No,
I don't replace
how that works.
E with.
I don't really know how that works.
So, and I do all here, so it will. Is it finished? Probably not. Yeah, it's finished. Okay. It did a final replace of E with exclamation mark in 2 seconds.
Very likely the file that I was trying to open was too big, or I don't know what it is. And actually, I mean,
is your file UTF-8?
And me, it's not a file. Me, it's not a file. It's the clipboard that is sent to the control. Which
this is the interesting thing. No, so here's the thing. let me share my, I don't know if you can see my screen.
I'm looking
I
at
will
it.
I'll stop
Right.
sharing. Yeah.
So what I had, this is the thing that I was referring to here.
Mm-hmm.
The controls for the limit of this. So there is a message that you can set to set the text limit. And I remember it said that before setting any limits, the default limit for the amount of text a user can enter in an edit control is just 32,000 characters. For whatever reason, you're not getting that. I don't know how that works, but this is a Windows thing. This is not even AutoHotkey or anything. This is a Windows thing. So it is kind of weird.
But I can still edit the text.
Right, you can.
After 2 megs of text.
That's so interesting. I don't know how that works. But
maybe that's a documentation for an older version of the control. Maybe in Windows 10 they upgraded the control or something like that.
You might be right, but I had the issue in Windows 10, so it was kind of like weird. I tried to set something up.
We had a real world example, right?
Right,
It
exactly.
wasn't just reading it and not doing it. We tried.
Because of that, that's the reason why I found this part, is because I got the issue and I was like, why isn't it displaying anything? But the value is there. But
I'm using the edit library from Jibali, and he has a method.
Maybe he sets it.
So maybe he has something.
Yeah, maybe he's setting it in a specific way. So if you're using a library, maybe he's either increasing the limit or doing something, because you can increase it. That's not the issue. The only problem is you'll have to do that. If you use the normal AutoHotkey, which is the point that Joe was making, like, are you using an edit control from AutoHotkey? That does not have any limits specified, so it defaults to that amount.
Yeah,
so maybe
there's a function that is get limit text. Returns the current text limit for the edit control.
Right.
And probably there's another function that sets.
Very likely. But here's the thing.
Set limit text, yes. And it is, I don't use it, so there might be a default
but
setting
probably
that
the library, the library itself probably does that for you. But here's the thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just a stupid question. Would it, you know how, Isaias, and I'm not saying we do this, but remember how for Serge, we used Excel to get rid of everything and just use Excel for the thing? Could we do something similar with Cite for AutoHotkey? Could we use it to just use it as the edit field and remove all the other crap?
I'm not sure, because we did that with Excel, because Excel has some options to disable toolbars and stuff like that. So with Cite, even though we can hide stuff in the GUI itself, I'm not really sure that you can do that, but I don't know. Yeah. So John, here.
Yeah, it talks about 2 million. No, more than 2 million, 2 billion characters. The maximum number of characters a user can enter Windows NT is that. But it doesn't say what it is by default without changing anything, because and this function is not called by the library itself.
Oh, hold on.
It's just available.
Hold on. Can you go up a little bit? Oh, hold on. Where you were? Hold on. Sorry, go down. Sorry.
Set is here.
Yeah, so let me highlight something that I just read here. This message is only for what the user can enter. It does not affect any text already in the edit control when the message is sent, nor does it affect the length of the text copied to the edit control by set text.
By set text.
Right. So basically what happens seems to be that you can set any amount of text with this message, but the way how I'm doing it in AutoHotkey, which was just putting the text in a variable, is not using the set text message, it's using something else. It might
because you see here I'm at position, 1,082,000, and I can still enter text here. So
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I don't know how that works. Let me
but
share.
But there may be other limits of the edit control, but I think I will live with those for version 1 until, and if I have complaints of users say I'm limited by something, I'll
And
tell
then you
them
go ahead
wait,
and
wait
do
for
it.
version 2,
Okay.
and
cool.
maybe in a few months it will become available in version 2.
In this case, I don't know if you can see my screen.
I'll just stop sharing.
Right.
Yeah.
In this case, this is the line that creates the Scintilla control. This sets some defaults, like I want it to wrap. I want the HTML lexor, size of the text, this font, And after I do that, then I can set the color of the caret, like the cursor that is blinking. And after I do that, I just set colors for a specific thing. So for the tags, I want this color, and I want to set the bold as well. That's it. After this is a copy paste thing. I can give you this, copy it, put it in another file with the site wrapper. And as soon as you do that, you have a Scintilla lexor that highlights HTML, which is the point. It's not that hard to set up something like HTML or other languages. The AHK language, though, that's the one that is tricky because there is no default lexor for it in Scintilla. But Scintilla comes with a lot of lexors. It comes with C++, HTML, all the ones. You just have to set here what is the lexor that you want. And I think they show up in the file as well. Like if you search for this one, let me see one. Yeah, so these are the ones that you can lex, all of them. If you use container here, that's the one that then you have to catch the messages and do it in AutoHotkey. But everything else, Python, C++, HTML, XML, all of those, you can use any of them. That's it.
Yep.
So it's really good if you want a very quick solution. This is, I'm saying it's really quick. The only thing is if you want to modify the wrapper itself, yeah, that's a different topic.
Good.
Okay.
So I can grab the wrapper on GitHub.
Yes.
And
yes.
and what you just showed me, is it something that is available or?
Let me add that file. I can send it to you over here. So
okay.
Because what I have are the other examples that go slowly incrementing the stuff. There is a place that has highlighting, but I did not set up, like, for example, HTML. Let me give you that one. And which again is just a copy paste. You can literally just copy that and paste it into another place and it's going to work just fine. So let me do this. What is this? Oh, no. All right.
I just under view and site, you can disable the toolbar and the tab bar.
Okay. That sounds good. If you can do that, you're halfway done.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, because then, I mean, like I have 80 properties files for the Scintillas for different languages. Not that you'd be using that, but
Right.
hey, Isaias, you did upload a latest version of the toolkit, right, to the Automator?
No, I haven't done that. I haven't finished with that, actually.
I thought we still pushed one anyway.
A few, yeah. A while back, I pushed one that fixed some things.
The version 2, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
The drop down, but what I have to send is the fix to the GUI.
Can you look at, is it 17.2? Is that the one you
No,
have
right now I'm in 21.9.
Wow.
Right, I have made a lot of changes that I have been testing it, but I haven't pushed it. That's all. But yeah, I should push that one. Now, let me send you. Let me open this up. Let me.
I'm just grabbing the video that you sent me, Joe.
I sent you a video.
Yeah, a link to example in the chat.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Scintilla.
So
yeah.
I'm sending it.